Bazi, government officials here present, the University of Zimbabwe Vice Chancellor who is hosting this event, we acknowledge you. We acknowledge the University of Zimbabwe Vice Chancellor for Strategic Partnerships and Industrialization, Professor Charles Mbowa. University of Zimbabwe Acting Pro Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, who is also the Executive Director for Research and Innovation, Professor Florence Mutambanengwe. The University of Zimbabwe Executive Director for Quality Assurance and Professional Development, Professor Chipo Jganda. The University of Zimbabwe BESA, Librarian and Registrar. Vice Chancellors of other state universities and private universities present. Senators and members of Parliament here present. Deans of faculties, chairpersons of departments, staff of the University of Zimbabwe, and our distinguished guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. We are so excited we are gathered today to commemorate Tanzania's 60th independence anniversary. So I would also like to acknowledge our partner, Southern African Research and Development Center, SARDC, who have also been playing a key role in the organization of this event. At this moment, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the University of Zimbabwe Vice Chancellor, Professor Paul Mapfumo, to come and give us the welcome remarks.
Thank you very much. I think we can take our seats. Our co-directors of ceremonies, I want to acknowledge you. Our guest of honor, Ambassador Msaka. We want to acknowledge your presence and say welcome to this event. Thank you very much for affording us this opportunity as the host of this very important event. The Honorable Minister of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services, Honorable Monica Mchangwa, who is joining us later, we want to acknowledge is coming to the event. Your Excellency, the Ambassador of the United Republic of Tanzania, Professor Mbena, thank you very much for affording us this opportunity and also for coming to this event. We are co-hosting this event, and it is really the important part that Tanzania has played that brings us here together. Your Excellency, the Ambassador Mageza, Chief Director in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Trade of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Your Excellencies, ambassadors from other countries here present. I want to particularly acknowledge Your Excellency, the Ambassador of the Republic of Ghana, who is here with us. I have been able to see you. We welcome you. Our partner, the Southern Africa Research and Documentation Center, who have been working in organizing this event with us. Dr. Phyllis Johnson has been working with us with the Tanzanian Embassy and staff. The Director General of African Regional Intellectual Property Organization, ARIPO, Mr. Benyama Twabeze. The senior government officials here present, and those who might be following us on the virtual platform. The Pro-Vice Chancellor for Strategic Partnerships and Industrialization for the University of Zimbabwe, Professor Mbowa, who is part of the organizing team. The Acting Pro-Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs for the University of Zimbabwe, who is also Executive Director for Research and Innovation, Professor Mtambanengwe. The Executive Director for Quality Assurance and Professional Development, Professor Chipo Jikanda. Our librarian, Dr. Chikonzo, who is also our knowledge manager in the university, who takes an interest in all these proceedings. Our BESA, who is in absentia, who has had a bereavement in the family. Our acting registrar, Mr. Chikerema, who is here with us. Vice chancellors from other state universities, private and public universities who might be following us on the virtual platform. Senators and members of parliament of the Republic of Zimbabwe who might be here with us, and also those from the other countries, including Tanzania, who might be following us. Deans of faculties, chairpersons of departments of the University of Zimbabwe, staff and students of the University of Zimbabwe, distinguished guests, members of the media, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all. I know usually it's just dutiful to say good morning, but I really mean it. Good morning. Thank you. You can say I'm a teacher. Right. It is my pleasure this morning, my privilege and honor to be giving you these welcome remarks, to welcome you to the University of Zimbabwe as we mark the 60th year of independence for the United Republic of Tanzania since 9 December 1961. Tanzania will forever hold a cherished place in the history of Africa in general and in the history of Zimbabwe in particular. Tanzania was selfless in providing military bases and training camps to launch the African liberation struggle in the frontline states. The great African stories of young people like Solomon Mahlangu, who trekked their way to various camps in Tanzania, make up so many heroic stories woven into the fabric of African national construction. For example, Namibians in Swapo have fond memories of Kwango camp, and we as Zimbabweans have legendary tales of, from Morogoro camp. But perhaps the most difficult thing that Tanzania did, and also most important for us as a university, was to provide thought leadership. There was a huge awakening from Tanzania. At the University of Zimbabwe, we have a Great Wall, which was commissioned in 1983. So it was just 3 years after our independence. And the Great Wall is an effigy that indicates that it was commissioned by Julius Mwalimu Nyerere. While we have a major street in Harare named after him, we will speak more to the significance of the Mwalimu, the great teacher, not only as Nyerere, but as the able artisan and intellectual. The concept of Mwalimu is important to African knowledge and continues to be relevant as a decolonial epistemology as we seek a new way of learning and teaching in Africa. From Dodoma to Dar es Salaam, ideas of Pan-Africanism reverberating from Ghana, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, amongst other African giants, found a capable interpreter and interlocutor in the people of Tanzania. They did not take lightly their independence, coming much earlier than the rest of Africa. They took their independence with intellectual zeal, deciding to tackle broad questions of the day, even beyond their borders. I think this is an important point about thinking beyond borders in an African context. And we all know that some of the borders were actually created and imposed to the extent that probably nobody knows the true borders. They resisted the temptation to simply mimicking Marxism and other isms, but went deeper to innovate the concept within their practical conditions and refused to narrow definitions of nationality. Guests of honor, by so doing, they had a task of coining concepts and creating knowledge and skills as a way of fighting the colonial library. As I would say, as the Cameroonian philosopher Achille Mbembe puts it, that is a colonial library. The task to remember the psyche of a dismembered continent, that is decolonizing the mind. As the Kenyan writer Ngugi wa Thiong'o puts it, that we are decolonizing the mind. But I want to emphasize the point of really fighting the colonial library. Because if we still go back and read from the same library, the facts are dictated by the same library. So our intellectuals will defend that library to death. Whether it's really laying down the facts is a question I think that we should begin to interrogate. Let's start with our library. Truly African library is the one that would put us on the correct path. So there was need then to begin to theorize the liberation of Africa on the part of Tanzania in a very practical sense, which they did. Amidst this liberation diplomacy, great social experiments in development, democracy, and politics were conducted. Without preempting the contents of the presenters on the day-to-day, suffice to say, we look at Tanzania's willingness to tear down the ruinous and oppressive past with a keen eye. We look at Tanzania to learn what is it to innovate and not fear innovation. We look at Tanzania independence to see what to do with freedom, what to do with independence. Indeed, we look to Tanzania and remember Frantz Fanon's famous words, each generation must discover its mission, fulfill it, or betray it. From Tanzanian independence, we learn that our mission as a university in Africa is to change the skills landscape of Africa through the provision of relevant, quality, and appropriate education and training that prepares learners for practice in diverse social, scientific, business, and political settings. I usually say locating it locally, regionally, and internationally. Universities are international in their nature, but they are locally located and primarily relevant locally. As such, as the University of Zimbabwe, we are pursuing a strategic direction in which we shall be known for new ideas, scientific innovations, leadership, and social strategy in pursuit of our newly founded heritage-based Education 5.0 philosophy, advanced by our President and Chancellor, His Excellency, President Dr. Emmerson Damzo Mnangagwa. The Education 5.0 is the approach of knowledge anchored on 5 main pillars: teaching, research, community service, innovation, and industrialization. As the University of Zimbabwe, we have anchored this approach on the philosophy of kuziva, kugona, nekuita. Kuziva is about our deep consciousness and the understanding of who we are, where we are coming from, and the aspirations of our people. What do our people want? To lead them to prosperity. Kugona is about our being strategic and competent. Are we capable of exercising ourselves in terms of skill and knowledge with such competence that we unapologetically advance the development of this nation? Kuita is action-oriented. We might be able to understand and be conscious, we might be able to be competent, but are we able to put that all together into action? That's what this kuziva, kugona, and kuita mean. So, as the University of Zimbabwe, we want to produce graduates that are now functional. We are going to be student-centered in the learning, and we are able to co-create knowledge with students and partners. We mean that being part of the university is now also about production systems, meaningful stakeholder engagement with society, industry, commerce, and government. Accordingly, the university is forging new sustainable pathways and partnerships for effective production of goods and services. In implementing this heritage-based education 5.0 strategy, we look down the path and we see the footprints of great Africans, of which Tanzania stands as a great epitome. We co-create today the need for great courage and integrity in handling the important duty bestowed on us by history and the great work needed for us to be masters of our own destiny. In line with our new transformation and trajectory as the University of Zimbabwe, we seek to extend a very old partnership and pluck it out of the history books. Today, we infuse our friendship with energy. Instead of being Eurocentric, we're having a Eurocentric bias. Today, we return to nature, our first love, with an Afrocentric bias with the United Republic of Tanzania. I want to thank you. Asante sana ndatenda ngiyabonga. I thank you.
It is with great pleasure that I invite for remarks our Ambassador of Tanzania to Zimbabwe, His Excellency Professor Emmanuel M.L. Bena.
The co-directors of the program, the guest of honor, Honorable Ambassador Fevlin Musaka, the Honorable Monica Mushangwa, Minister of Information, Publicity, and Broadcasting Services of the Republic of Zimbabwe, joining later, Professor Paul Mafumo, Vice Chancellor University of Zimbabwe, and all the team that has worked with you to make this event a success. The director of the Southern Africa Research and Documentation Center, Mr. Munesi Madaka Kufanda. Members of the diplomatic corps who are here, Your Excellencies, ambassadors, especially my brother, Ambassador Trakwa of Ghana, but other colleagues, Your Excellencies, following these proceedings virtually. The ambassador of Egypt was here but had to dash out for a meeting. The ambassador of South Sudan was here but had to rush and receive a delegation. Those have all shown the friendship, and we want to acknowledge them. Senior government officials who are here, distinguished delegates here face to face, but also around the country and around the continent who are following virtually, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, we say all protocol observed. This symposium is part of the celebrations in commemoration of the 60 years of the independence of Tanganyika, or now part of the United Republic of Tanzania. Tanganyika attained independence from Britain on the 9th of December, 1961, under the first Prime Minister, Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere. The following year, on the 9th of December, 1962, Tanganyika became a republic with Mwalimu Nyerere as the founding president. In his inaugural address to the National Assembly on the 10th of December 1962, the day following becoming a republic, President Nyerere articulated the kind of a country and a nation that we wanted to build. One built on the firm foundations of equality, brotherliness, justice, and self-reliance. Prior to the independence of Tanzania, or Tanganyika then, Tanganyika had been a German colony following the 1884 Berlin Conference and the 1891 declaration of Tanganyika as part of German East Africa. During World War I, 1914 to 1918, Britain acquired to possess all German assets, including the hitherto German colonies. That means also Tanganyika. Thus, effective 1920, these assets were taken over by Britain, including Tanganyika, which Britain renamed the Tanganyika Territory. In 1946, the year following the end of World War II, which was 1939 to 1945, the United Nations placed Tanganyika as a trusteeship to Britain with the intention that Britain would facilitate Tanganyika's preparedness for her independence. The regaining of independence of mainland Tanzania was a result of the efforts of Mwalimu Nyerere and 16 other leaders who worked with him, and the extensive mobilization of the masses countrywide to instill in them the faith that it was possible to govern themselves. This mobilization was of a critical importance given the history of the wars that had been previously lost in various parts of the territory to the Europeans. We had Mkwawa resistance, the Maji-Maji resistance, and other wars that were fought against the Europeans and had lost due to various circumstances. So it was necessary to mobilize the masses to have all of them rally behind the leadership and fight for and demand the independence of the country. So while Mwalimu's argument was that Tanganyika was now ready to govern herself and therefore ready for independence, the reason Britain gave for delaying the independence was that Tanganyika was not ready. But in fact, the reason was Britain's desire to continue to control and exploit Tanganyika's resources. But with Mwalimu's brilliance, hard work, and superior rhetoric, and with the solidarity with other leaders, the independence was regained. Thus, Just before midnight on the 8th of December 1961, the British flag was brought down, and shortly after midnight, or at midnight on the 9th of December 1961, the flag of independent Tanganyika was flying. Tanganyika was independent. Today, we are celebrating 60 years from that wonderful night, the wonderful and historic night of our country. But the story of the independence of Tanganyika will not be complete without saying, so how did it become part of the United Republic of Tanzania? So we want to say that, note that on the 10th of December, 1963, Zanzibar attained independence from Britain and formed a government under a constitutional sultanate. However, 33 days later, on the 12th of January 1964, the people of Zanzibar effected a bloody revolution in which the Sultan was deposed and the People's Republic of Zanzibar was born with Mzee Abeid Amani Karume as the president. 3 months later, 3 months and 2 weeks later, to be precise, on the 26th of April 1964, the Republic of Tanganyika and the People's Republic of Zanzibar entered into a permanent union to form the United Republic of Tanzania, with Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere, the president, and Mzee Abeid Amani Karume, the vice president. Much has happened since then. Time will not be enough to give a comprehensive list of Tanzania's achievement of the 60 years. Some of these successes are for the country, or internal successes you may call, and others are for other countries and the world in general, or external successes you might call them. Just a few highlights so that we say, why are we celebrating? Some highlights of internal successes. For us, number one is the formation of the United Republic of Tanzania through the union between the sovereign states of Zanzibar and Tanganyika. This unique union remains strong and serves as an assurance that it is possible and beneficial to unite countries. And therefore, as we speak of even a borderless Africa, I think the union between Tanganyika and Zanzibar to form the current one country is an attestation of both the possibility and even the necessity of the same. But secondly, the creation of a solid national identity. One united nation out of more than 125 tribes, each with their own distinct language, but also these people living in unity, in social harmony, and solidarity. A people who love their country. It is a nation built on the foundations of love and equality without discrimination on the basis of tribe, race, gender, religion, political, or economic status. It is a country that values the dignity of everyone and one that gives equal opportunity to all to participate in the pursuit of and benefit from the economic, political, and social development. Many others can be said. Just to say, there has been a lot of internal successes over the 60 years, maintaining stability and peace and security, laying firm foundations of economic development, inculcating self-awareness, self-respect, and respect for others, and an understanding of the importance of self-reliance and self-confidence. Even more, to the level that now we even have our first president, who is a woman, Her Excellency Samia Suluhu Hassan, the former vice president. Great successes in educational, technological, and infrastructure development, as well as the effective and efficient provision of essential services. Free education up to secondary school, access to health care services, including highly specialized medical treatment, potable water, electricity covering 98% of rural electrification, and supportive for special groups of our society. Many can be said of what has happened internally since then. But just to highlight also things that have happened externally, outside of Tanzania. I just mentioned one or two. Addressing the Pre-Independence Legislative Council in 1959, Mwalimu Nyerere said, "We, the people of Tanganyika, would like to light a candle and put it on top of Mount Kilimanjaro, which would shine beyond our borders, giving hope where there's despair, love where there is hate, and dignity where before there was only humiliation. This was a commitment that after independence, the country will fully support the liberation of other African countries from colonialism and apartheid. Mwalimu Nyerere believed, as did Ghana's President Kwame Nkrumah and others, that without the freedom of all African countries, Tanganyika would not really be free. We defined our freedom as a country in the context of the freedom of everyone else. It would not mean much if we were free or independent and others are not. Thus, from the very beginning, Tanzania already set in motion the principles and policies that will lead to the sacrifices that would support the liberation of the region and the continent. It was a declaration we'll give anything and everything in pursuit of the liberation of everyone on the continent. The development of Kiswahili as an international language, and even more recently, UNESCO passing a resolution sponsored by Tanzania to designate an International Kiswahili Day, which is on the 7th of July. Contribution to the Pan-Africanism, with Tanzania fully participating in the formation of the Organization of African Unity, which became the African Union. SADC, which initially was the Southern African Development Coordination Conference, now is a region. We are even headed now to have a parliament. Tanzania was a founder of the Liberation Committee, which was hosted in Dar es Salaam. For 30 years, the Liberation Committee worked since 1964 to 1994, following the multiracial election and the defeat of apartheid, constitutional apartheid in South Africa. Contribution to the attainment of freedom of all countries in Southern Africa. Those are by supporting various levels, negotiations of independence where possible, and where not possible, organized training and material and humanitarian support through hosting camps of liberation movements. Many things in that area can be said. And Tanzania, over the years, these 60 years, has maintained a global stature as a key contributor to the thinking processes and to the global socio-economic and political development agenda, including contributing to the highest levels of leadership at the regional, continental, and global levels. And you can mention examples from Mwalimu himself to Dr. Ahmed Salim, to Ambassador Brigadier General Hashim Bita. Those will be names that are very well known in Zimbabwe. Ambassador Gertrude Mongela was the president of the UN Women Conference in Beijing. Ambassador Asha Rose Migiro, now Tanzania's ambassador to the UK, she was the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, and others you can say. And more recently, Dr. Gomena Lawrence Tax, who was is now Tanzania's Minister of Defense, but she was the first Executive Secretary of SADC for 8 years and championed a lot of development programs for the region. So that under her leadership, we now have a goal that by 2050, SADC envisions a peaceful, inclusive, competitive, middle to high-income industrialized region where all citizens enjoy sustainable economic well-being, justice, and freedom. Much has happened. We can only say so far. So this occasion, in conclusion, is to celebrate and commemorate the milestone of 60 years of independence, as it is an occasion not only for Tanzanians, but for all Africans living on the continent and in the diaspora to celebrate a country, its freedom, and its determination to work with others until the continent was free of colonialism and apartheid and moving towards the next goal of economic development and liberation and unity, which will make Africa into an influential powerhouse in the world economy. And therefore, Honorable Guest of Honor, we propose to commemorate by sharing some insights into Tanzania and its past over the 60 years. And we look forward to the papers that will be presented and to a conclusion that will say, so where do we go from here? And I can't wait to listen to the presenters of the papers. So I wanted to give what is this independence, 60 years, what is it? What did it look like when it happened? What has happened since then? And therefore, a reason to celebrate. With those remarks, I want to say thank you again for joining us. Let's celebrate together as we celebrate this very special milestone for our country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Bena. We really appreciate you sharing with us the history of Tanzania's liberation struggle. And we appreciate that today we are having this event where we are creating our own stories, creating the African narratives that are relevant to this current generation and to future generations. And we really appreciate the role played by Tanzania in building unity across the African bloc, and also the impact that has been spread even outside the African continent. We are so excited today because there's a fusion of the diplomatic mission, the government, and academia, because we appreciate that education shapes society. It shapes how we think, how we can decolonize, we can detoxify some of the narratives that were left during the liberation struggles. So since we are in celebratory mode, and to summarize His Excellency's remarks about the history of Tanzania's independence, it's important that we also hear Tanzania's national anthem, and together we'll also have Zimbabwe's national anthem. These are very important songs as they bring identity to us as Africans. So the media team, can you please make sure that you prepare the files for our own Zimbabwean national anthem, and then we also have the Tanzania's national anthem. So while this is preparing that, I'll give you a rundown for those who are going to share virtually so that they prepare. Up next, we are going to have remarks from our partner from Southern African Research and Documentation Center. So here on our agenda, it's remarks from the Executive Director, Mr. Munetsi, but we are now going to have Ms. Phyllis Johnson, who is going to share some remarks from SARDC. And then thereafter, we'll have greetings from the Government of Zimbabwe. We also have congratulatory messages from different ambassadors from different parts of Africa. We also have messages from China and from Russia or from Cuba. I guess these are joining us virtually. If they can prepare so that when we get to that, they will share. And then after that, we'll have solidarity messages from the United Nations representative who will be represented by someone from UNESCO. And then thereafter, we'll have a speech from our guest of honor. And then after the official session this morning, we are going to have very insightful presentation from the academia, where we will have presentations on Uhuru and Umoja, that is freedom and unity, the role that has been or is being played by Tanzania in the African continent as well as in the world. And then we will end with the way forward. How can we create the Africa we want? How can we create the Tanzania we want through partnerships as well as regional integration? So our media team, okay, thank you so much. So at this moment, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite everyone to stand as we sing. We'll start with the Zimbabwe's national anthem. Thereafter, we'll have Tanzania's national anthem. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. You may take your seats. It's really exciting from that bit. Indeed, God bless Africa. Up next, we are going to have remarks from Southern African Research and Documentation Center, Ms. Phyllis Johnson. She's going to share with us virtually. Ms. Johnson, if you're ready, please go ahead.
I am here, thank you. It's so inspiring to hear those two anthems together. I was listening very closely. I thank you, Ambassador, Vice Chancellor. I want to acknowledge the guest of honor and Minister Muchangwa, other ministers, ambassadors, and colleagues present, all protocols observed. I must just give a personal apology for why I am attending virtually rather than being there with you today. We've been very careful at SARDC, but we've had 4 cases of positive tests where people are isolating. They've had vaccinations, so their symptoms are mild. I have tested negative, and so has the executive director and all the other staff. But on the side of precaution, I thought it best to join you virtually. The executive director has a completely different emergency. There are other things that go on besides COVID, and he's very disappointed because he has been looking forward to join you today, and he's been with us all throughout the arrangements. So he's asked me to deliver his remarks, and that is what I'll do. Our board, chaired by Professor Peter H. Kashabibi from Namibia, as well as the management and staff of the Southern African Research and Documentation Center, feel very proud to contribute to the commemoration of the 60th anniversary of the independence of the country then called Tanganyika, until it was united with Zanzibar to form the United Republic of Tanzania. SARDC is a regional knowledge center, that's SARDC, is a regional knowledge center that grew from the vision of Mulimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere, who was our founding patron. As chairman of the frontline states in the confrontation with colonial rule and apartheid, he and his colleagues already had a long-term vision for post-independence economic development of Southern Africa. And while he knew that peace and security would be the foundation of this development, he also saw that knowledge would be the cement to hold it together. You may recall his insistence that knowledge is power. So he wanted a place for information to be collected, analyzed, and shared across borders, to become a common knowledge for a common future, for a united and prosperous region and continent. His vision was freedom and unity at all levels, and he worked hard for this throughout his life, at local level, national, regional, the continent of Africa, and beyond. SARDC became a part of his plan as a small center for the collection of information and dissemination of knowledge, and to support the development of regional policy. I think he'd be proud of what we've become, and that was stated by one of his successors, the late President Benjamin William Mkapa, when he came here 5 years ago to officially name the new SARDC headquarters as Julius K. Nyerere House, where we proudly serve. After stepping down as President of the United Republic of Tanzania, Mulimu Nyerere went on to expand his vision for the developing countries of the Global South by chairing the South Commission, which established the South Center in Geneva, of which he was the founding chair. He was very clear that South is not only a geographical designation, and that South is also a way of thinking. SARDC has adopted that definition in our work in producing alternative information that's accurate and constructive, regional and Southern in perspective. SARDC now works very closely with the Southern African Development Community, SADC, as a knowledge partner. And we're indeed privileged to contribute to that in our own small way. especially the executive director, and his team, who is an economist. In that regard, we've had the opportunity to work very closely with another visionary Tanzanian. For the past 8 years, the former SADC Executive Secretary, Dr. Stergomena Lawrence-Tax. She's just one example of the contribution of Tanzania and Tanzanians who have advanced the development, freedom, and unity in Africa and the world, including the longest-serving Secretary General of the OAU, Ambassador Salim Ahmed Salim, who coordinated support for the last stages of the transition from apartheid and later managed the transformation of the OAU to the African Union. Before that, of course, he was a leader of the Africa Group at the United Nations as Tanzania's representative, who cleared the way for the entry of the People's Republic of China into the UN in 1971. Yet another Tanzanian, he's been mentioned, but I must mention these again, who stands tall on the continent, is the late Executive Secretary of the OAU Liberation Committee, Brigadier General retired Hashim Gita, as the ambassador mentioned. And as you'll hear more about today in one of the papers, these two Tanzanians, by the name of Ambassador Salim and Ambassador Mbita, were the first recipients of the Sons of Africa Award by the African Union. The United Republic of Tanzania is leading the way again with their first woman president, Her Excellency Samia Suluhu Hassan. So we just wanted to tell you about the origins of SARDC and its relevance here today, hosted in Zimbabwe, working with the 16 member states of SADC, and emerging from that great country, the United Republic of Tanzania. Thank you, Muli Munireri and Tanzania. Asante sana, siyabonga, maitabasa jikuru, tualumba. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Johnson, for those kind words, and we can see that the spirit of Dr. Nyerere lives on as evidenced by the existence of SARDC here in Harare. Thank you so much for sharing with us on that piece of history. Up next, we are going to have greetings by the Government of Zimbabwe, representatives from the Government of Zimbabwe. So if they are joining us virtually, please, they can go ahead with their solidarity messages. But if while they are preparing, maybe if I can call the Dean of Students here at the University of Zimbabwe to assist us with the rearrangement of the seating arrangement of our VIP so that they can follow the proceedings on the virtual platform. Whilst a representative from the government is preparing, those who are delivering messages from embassies from member states of SADC, EAC, ECOWAS, and North Africa, please get ready. We'll start with messages from Southern Africa. I'm sure they are joining us virtually. They can go ahead and share their solidarity messages. Our representative from the Government of Zimbabwe, if you're ready, you can go ahead. Okay, perhaps while they are preparing, can we have solidarity messages from ambassadors from Southern Africa, those who are present? Okay, seems like maybe they are getting ready. I can see that in the house we have the ambassador from Ghana. Maybe you can come forward and give your solidarity messages.
Thank you, Director of Ceremony. Your Excellency, Ambassador Musaka, Chief Director of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Trade, the Protocol Section. Professor Paul Mafumo, Vice Chancellor of the University of Zimbabwe. Your Excellency, Professor Emmanuel Mbena, the Ambassador of the United Republic of Tanzania to Zimbabwe. Your Excellency, Ambassador Magiza, Chief Director of Africa of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Trade. Your Excellencies, members of the Diplomatic Corps, all other protocols respectively observed. To be part of this symposium underscores the recognition by Ghana of the inspiration that other African liberation leaders drew from the leading role it played in the liberation of the continent, and it's always a pleasure to show solidarity in such commemorations coming from the declaration of Osagifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, Ghana's first president, that, and I quote, "The liberation of Ghana will be meaningless until the total liberation of the African continent," unquote. Excellencies, 60 years in the life of a human being in some countries amounts to one retiring from active service. In the life of a country, it underscores how far it has come as far as the liberation from colonial rule is concerned, and how far it has come with its political and economic development in terms of fulfilling the aspirations of its people. Political and economic developments in the United Republic of Tanzania underscores how far it has embarked this 60 years milestone. And on this basis, on behalf of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the President of the Republic of Ghana, and also the Chair of ECOWAS member states, and on my own behalf, I wish to congratulate the government and people of Tanzania on this remarkable 60th Independence Day anniversary. Even though a lot has been achieved as regards political and economic emancipation that needs no repetition, a lot more is yet to be achieved to bring relief not only to the people of Tanzania, but all Africans, and it is our hope that this anniversary will provide yet another platform for the government of the United Republic of Tanzania to work together with other African governments to collectively pursue the political and economic development deserving the African continent. The ultimate should be an African continent where borders will be a thing of the past, and the common welfare of Africans is the goal. Congratulations to the government and people of Tanzania, and we wish you all the best in the years ahead. Thank you.
Thank you for reiterating the importance of solidarity. We will now have an address from the Ambassador of the East African Community.
Our chief guest, Ambassador Msaka, the Chief Director, Protocol Minister of Foreign Affairs, Excellencies, colleagues, and members of the Diplomatic Corps, the Vice Chancellor, University of Zimbabwe, Professor Paul Mafumo, invited guests, distinguished guests, all protocols observed, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to convey warm greetings and message of goodwill from His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta and the people of Kenya during this auspicious occasion. And we are proud to join in the commemoration of the 60th anniversary of the independence of Tanzania mainland, namely Tanganyika. In solidarity with His Excellency the President Samia Hassan and the people of the United Republic of Tanzania, His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta was among the EAC regional leaders who graced Tanzania's mainland 60th Independence Anniversary celebration on the 9th December 2021 at the Uhuru Gardens in Dar es Salaam. His Excellency the President Uhuru Kenyatta is the current chair of the East African Community, basically the EAC, whose member states include the United Republic of Tanzania, the Republic of Uganda, the Republic of Rwanda, the Republic of Burundi, and the Republic of South Sudan. He hails the EAC unwavering support and contribution towards regional integration that has enhanced intra-East EAC trade and development opportunities among the member states. Kenya appreciates the cordial relation that the East EAC member states continue to enjoy over the years. This has culminated through the recent high-level state visits by the respective president, as well as signing various bilateral pacts, all aimed at boosting trade and investment between the member states and for the prosperity of the nations and the citizens at large. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Kenya in particular lauds the original founder partner states of EAC that led to the signing of the treaty establishing the regional bloc on 30th November 1999. The treaty came into effect on the 7th of July 2000, and Tanzania continues to host the bloc headquarters in Arusha to date. The objective of the EAC at its establishment was to widen and deepen economic, political, socio-cultural integration, which Kenya as a member state appreciates the contribution of each member state towards the attainment of this objective. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, East Africa member states have continued to enjoy benefits accrued from the regional integration. These benefits include, among others, free movement of persons and increased opportunities, free movement of factors of production, hence increased industrial productivity, common custom tariff regimes and procedures, better infrastructure that translates to better market access, improved agricultural productivity, hence food security, which has led to the peaceful, secure, and stable region, as well as peaceful coexistence and good neighborliness. The EAC member states have continued to collaborate on education matters, science, and technology, resulting to improved literacy levels, as well as enhanced creativity and innovation among the citizens. The member states have continued to engage with other states to engage on resource mobilization initiatives with other member states, such as the Global Partnership for Education. Ladies and gentlemen, EAC appreciates the Embassy of the United Republic of Tanzania for the ongoing strategic partnership with the University of Zimbabwe and South African Research and Documentation Center, ESA further congratulates the Embassy for holding this academic symposium in collaboration with their partners, namely the University of Zimbabwe and the South African Research and Documentation Center, in the commemoration of the 60th anniversary of independence of the Tanzania mainland. God bless you all. God bless the United Republic of Tanganyika. God bless the ESC member states. Merry Christmas and happy and prosperous New Year 2022. Asante sana, maitabasa.
All members online are advised to adjust their cameras before speaking. We'll now move on to hear from the ambassadors of member states of SADC if they are present online. We will now move on to hear from the ambassadors of member of states of Northern Africa if they are present online. Sorry, we were on mute. We will now move on to hear from the ambassadors of member states of SADC if they are present online. We will now move on to hear from the ambassadors of members of states of Northern Africa if they are present online. Thank you very much. We would now like to invite the government speaker for greetings from the government of Zimbabwe. I'm being advised that the United Nations agency representatives by UNESCO are present, and so we'd like to give them the floor. We'd like to check whether the solidarity messages from the ambassadors of China, Russia, or Cuba are present with us online. We would like to also check if the United Nations representatives are present online. UNICEF.
Okay, thank you so much. For those who are joining us online, make sure that you unmute if you want to share something. While it's perhaps representatives from member states from North Africa and Southern Africa are preparing, and also solidarity messages from the People's Republic of China, Russia, or Cuba, while they are preparing. At this moment, maybe we can have a Tanzanian poem while we await for their solidarity messages before we call in our guest of honor. So at this moment, I would like to invite Nima Madu to come and give us a poem.
Imekuwa safari ndefu sana tuendayo, na wale wanaotuona wanasubiri, wanatabiri itatushinda, lakini tumeamua twende tunakokupenda. Wao waache waseme. Wao wanapoiona njia inapinda na milima na mabonde yanashuka na kupanda, uzani tutasonona na nyoyo ziwe njia panda. Kwa hilo wamekosea. Wakikaa wakaona jinsi tulivyo, unong'onezana. Tazameni hawa hivi walivyopatana. Safari itawashinda, kumbe mambo iko huku. Hukaa wakipiga parapanda, wakipiga parapanda, maneno wanayoongea huyagawa nyoyo za watu. Wenyewe tumeshapatana. Safarini tunaenda, mwisho ukomo wa njia. Kwetu ni mbele daima, tukimtanguliza Allah na Yesu Kristo, katu hatutosimama. Daima tutaenda mbele, njia tutazitazama, hata ziwe njia panda, hadi tuendako tufike. Ladies and gentlemen, mabibi na mabwana, tuendako tutafika.
Thank you very much for that beautiful poem. Thank you so much. So to our presenters who are joining us virtually, please make use of the chat box to share. If you are ready, you can just say we are ready, and then you can go ahead and make your solidarity messages. So member states from North Africa or Southern Africa, those who are joining us virtually, if you are ready, please go ahead. Or anyone from the People's Republic of China, Russia, or Cuba, those who are representing those member states, please go ahead and share your solidarity messages. If there's someone who is representing the United Nations here, please, if you're ready, you can go ahead. Okay, I cannot see any messages in the chat or any hands raised. So for the sake of time and moving ahead with our program, at this moment, I would like to invite Mr. Peter Obani, who is the Acting Deputy Director for Africa Department in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Trade, to come and introduce to us our guest of honor. Mr. Obani.
Thank you very much to the directors of ceremonies. My name is Peter Obani, as has been disclosed, the acting deputy director in the Department of Africa, Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Trade. My task here is simple: to introduce the guest of honor, the guest speaker. As has been indicated, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Trade, Ambassador Frederick Shaw, had been invited and had initially accepted to be part of this auspicious occasion and to give the keynote address. But unfortunately, due to prior commitments, he is unable to be here personally. So today, Ambassador Pevelin Musaka, who is the Chief Director in the Directorate of Protocol and Conferences, is going to be representing the guest of honor and to give the address that would have been given by the guest of honor, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Trade. And I thank you. Ambassador Musaka.
May I please take your seats? Thank you. My role is the most simple role that I will be playing this morning. What is just the difference is that it's the voice that you are hearing, which is someone else's, but the speech is that of our Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Trade, and beginning of the quote of his address. The Honorable Comrade Opa CZ Mchunguri Kashiri, MP, Minister of Defense and War Veterans Affairs of the Republic of Zimbabwe. In absentia, the Honorable Monica Mchangwa, Minister of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services, who will join us later. His Excellency Professor Emmanuel M.L. Bena, Ambassador of the United Republic of Tanzania, who is the co-host of this symposium. His Excellency, or rather High Excellency, Ambassador Alice Mageza, Chief Director in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Trade of the Republic of Zimbabwe, represented by the Acting Deputy Director in the Political Affairs Africa Department in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Your Excellencies, ambassadors here present, and I recognize the Ambassador of the Republic of Ghana, who is present here, and those ambassadors who are participating in this symposium virtually. The UN representative and Director General of RIPO, Professor Paul Mafumo, Vice Chancellor, University of Zimbabwe, senior government officials here present, members of the academia who are present, distinguished delegates, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure this morning to offer opening remarks at this important event for commemoration of the 60th anniversary of the independence of mainland Tanzania. It is indeed our pleasure to be here today. I wish to commend the government of the United Republic of Tanzania for inviting me to officiate this great day. This is a clear manifestation of the cordial relationship that exists between our two nations. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the relations between our two countries are historic and stem from a deeply shared liberation heritage. In this history, both of us joined hands in the struggle for the liberation of our region under the leadership of our founding fathers, Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere and Comrade Robert Gabriel Mugabe. I am grateful that since then, the comradeship between our two countries have continued to grow from strength to strength. It is my sincere hope that we will maintain our relations and continue to work for the building of our economies towards the full economic liberation for our peoples. It is our moral obligation to keep high the spirit of friendship and cooperation initiated by our founding fathers, the late Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere and the late Robert Gabriel Mugabe, who worked closely during the liberation struggle of the Southern African countries. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the Republic of Zimbabwe and the United Republic of Tanzania have maintained close ties by sharing common political ideals and economic aspirations, taking common positions at different fora, and cooperating together in addressing issues of mutual concerns. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, back to the theme of this year's Independence Day celebration, which is, I quote, "A strong Tanzania, let work continue," end of quote. The achievement of the 60 years of independence of Tanzania mainland is not relevant only to the Tanzanian nation, but to the whole of the African continent. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is known that Tanzania's support for liberation movements went well beyond rhetoric, championing African unity and solidarity. Tanzania offered itself as a base for those fighting for liberation, hosting the forces of many movements, including the African National Congress, ANC, the Pan-African Congress, PAC, from South Africa, Mozambique Liberation Front, FRELIMO, the People's Movement for the Liberation of Angola, MPLA, the Zimbabwean African National Union, ZANU, the Zimbabwean African People's Union, ZAPU, and the Southwest African People's Organization, SWAPO, from Namibia. Tanzania played a key role in the formation of the then Organization of the African Unity, OAU, and now the African Union, and the East African Community, EAC, and the Southern African Development Community, SADC. The country played a key role in the removal of the dictatorial regime of the Idi Amin of Uganda at Tanzania's cost. Tanzania played a key role at the global level, providing eminent leadership through such personalities as Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere himself, President Benjamin Mkapa, President Jakaya Kikwete, Ambassador Gertrude Mongolia, Ambassador Dr. Salim Ahmed Salim, Ambassador Dr. Asha Rose Mingiro, and Brigadier Hashim Mbita. And if I may add, most recently, Her Excellency Dr. Stegemina Lawrence Tax, the past Executive Secretary of SADC, who is now the current Minister of Defense, as you heard the Ambassador of Tanzania allude to. It was Tanzania during the presidency of the late Dr. John Pombe Magufuli that was the first country to respond with immediate aid to Zimbabwe when we suffered Cyclone Idai. And further, Tanzania has played a role in the resolution of conflicts and maintenance of peace around the world, especially in the SADC region. Internally, Tanzania has achieved and maintained the spirit of self-reliance, national unity and patriotism, peace, social harmony, and political stability in the pursuit of a people-centered socio-economic development agenda. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, let's join together to congratulate and celebrate the United Republic of Tanzania on the special occasion of the 60th anniversary of the independence of Tanganyika. With these few remarks, I declare this academic symposium officially open. End of quote. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Musaka. I can see that virtually we are receiving solidarity messages from a representative from UNICEF and also from the Ambassador of Indonesia. Ambassador Dewa, we can see that you are online. Do you have some solidarity messages you want to add on to the ones you sent in the chat?